Welcome to a Viking Sports Wrap Online edition. My name is Darren Doogie Wolfson from the Channel 5 Sports Department. I help out occasionally on 1500 ESPN and 1500ESPN.com. This is Tom Pelissero. The man is omnipresent, host of the 6 to 8 show weekdays on 1500 ESPN. Also the Vikings beat reporter for 1500ESPN.com. Tom,
long intro.
It is, very much, because I like the sound of my own voice. Why should Vikings fans believe, or maybe not believe, that this year's 0-2 start is different from last year?
Well, the difference is there were no expectations this year, at least externally. I think that a ton of people around the league last year, they thought the team probably was going to fall off. They thought the Packers were going to be the best team in the division, but that the Vikings still were a borderline playoff type of team. This year, nobody expected them to be good. Everybody I talked to around the league said they expected them to be the last place team in the division. That's the biggest difference right now, is that this shouldn't surprise anybody, but it actually has been really similar. If you look at losing a couple of close games, one of them at home, a game that people thought they were going to win, and now the Lions coming in week 3. Once again, this is a must-win in week 3, which no NFL team wants to be facing.
Heading into the year, the over-under in Vegas on Vikings wins was 6.5. We were both pretty adamant at saying over. After watching them for 2 weeks...
I wasn't that adamant.
All right, but you were fairly confident they would go over the 6.5. After watching them for 2 weeks, do you still have that opinion, or do you think they're a 6-win team?
Well, I thought they were a 7-win team coming in, but the thing you got to remember is now they put themselves in an 0-2 hole. To get the 7 wins, they got to go 7-7 the rest of the way. And look at the second half of the schedule versus the first half. There goes an entire pizza in that Mercedes. You look at, I mean, just look at the schedule, and it's tough to look at that and look at the team and the weaknesses that they've shown so far, particularly at the quarterback position and the rest of the offense. They don't have an explosive element in the offense. They're once again nicked up in the secondary. The defensive line has played fairly well, but you can look at the interior defensive line and say that they showed some weaknesses last week. I don't know. I mean, I still think that they're a 6, 7, 8 win team. It's just, it becomes tougher and tougher the more games you fall in the hole at the beginning to get the 7 or 8 wins.
The quarterback, not will they pull the plug on Donovan McNabb? That's Leslie Frazier's guy. They're not pulling the plug for weeks, but should they?
Well, I think that it's probably too soon at this point. You knew there was going to be a growing process here in terms of the entire offense getting up to Leslie Frazier's scheme, or excuse me, Bill Musgrave's scheme. Here's the thing. Donovan McNabb is what he is. He always has been. He has the same weaknesses he's always had, which is he's not a good pocket passer. He's a guy you need to get outside the pocket, move him around. He has pretty good arm strength, but isn't particularly accurate when he's got to set his feet, sit back there and pat the ball in the pocket, and you don't have a downfield threat. Bernard Berrian played, I think, 51 or 52 snaps in this past game. They took one shot over the top to him. He has no downfield catches in 2 games. How many times are you going to put Bernard Berrian out there and expect a different result? That's the definition of insanity at this point.
So it's time to put Percy Harvin out there more. How did Berrian have more snaps than Harvin last Sunday?
It's a good question. Not just more snaps, but 20-plus more snaps last week, and that's where it becomes a problem. They're not the same type of receiver. Bernard Berrian's a vertical speed threat receiver. He's a guy who's a natural fit at the split end position. They want Percy Harvin to play the flanker, but in this past game, Michael Jenkins was the starting flanker. Whatever they saw on tape, I don't get into questioning play calling, but overall strategy, this is something out here today. In terms of overall strategy, you take one of your dynamic playmakers. Donovan McNabb talked about it today. When you have Percy Harvin on the field, you can move him around. Teams don't know where he's going to be, and they've got to ID that guy. They've got to declare their doubles. They've got to know where Percy Harvin is on the field. When you got Bernard Berrian and Michael Jenkins outside, there's no odds that they're going to do anything different. There's no odds they're going to surprise you. Percy Harvin, just by virtue of being on the field, even if he's not the #1 option on a play, he's a guy who's going to make defenses adjust to his presence.
Tyrell Johnson is on the field occasionally, about half and half with Jamarcus Sanford. He was very stand-up in the locker room on Wednesday, said all the right things, incredibly apologetic about blowing a .12, driving under the influence on Monday night. But still, how can you be so dumb when they offer a phone number, they offer rides? How can you get behind the wheel of a car and drive when you're intoxicated? When you're a member of the Vikings, when they offer up free rides just like that?
You may think you're okay. I mean, that's the bottom line, is people make mistakes. And now on that point, I do agree with Leslie Frazier. You're talking about young men who some of them have to learn, and some of them have to learn the hard way. But, you know, like I know the Green Bay Packers actually give out a keychain with the phone number on it they can call. I don't know if the Vikings do the same thing, but every team in the NFL has a safe ride program. It's part of what they do. You can get a limo from the team. There's a variety of different ways that they're willing to take you wherever you need to go and make sure you get back safely. It's a big mistake, and now twice in 2 months. I understand where Leslie Frazier is coming from. You can't cut every guy who makes a mistake, and you run the risk of setting a double standard if you cut Tyrell Johnson when you kept Red Bomar around. But, you know, if it becomes a pattern, then at some point Leslie Frazier may have to change his message a little bit.
Speaking of pizza, it's pizza time for the two of us. Have a great day, everyone.